Wait for me, real quick, copy it.
Woo! Does that mean we have volume? Okay. So I want to thank all.
It's doing a live.
I'm just waiting for the piano, so don't. I need that coffee.
So I'm Teresa Yarbrough. I'm the director of the Georgia Cannabis Industry Alliance.
Bag right here.
And this tonight is a celebration
This your bag?
for us adding grassroots members to our organization. You guys have been asking for it a long time, and I think we're in a position now where we can serve you better and serve the state of Georgia better. So everybody that wants to become a grassroots member level of the Georgia Cannabis Industry Alliance, talk to me after our speaking portion is over tonight. So, okay, everybody get ready? So, who wants legalization of marijuana out there? Oh my God, all you bunch of fucking potheads out there. Can I hear that again?
Yeah, we got me,
So
baby.
what's holding us up, huh? Who's got the answer?
I don't like you.
Government. The government. The blah, blah, blah people. So, how do we get that government that keeps holding us back from
What you drinking?
our goals to legalize Georgia?
They feeling.
Anybody got a clue? Well, I think it's arbitrary politicians, cowardly politicians, and we've got a declaration over here on this table, and I'd like for all of you guys to pick up one. It says how we're going to treat these people. We're going to call them out. We're going to point at them and say, look, that guy right there, he serves in Georgia's legislature. But he is not interested in legalizing pot unless it serves his cronies' needs. Is that right? Is that pretty much right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So why do we keep electing these same people?
Nobody else is running.
Hello?
I don't mind.
Why?
Because there's only two parties in this.
Exactly.
We keep electing these people because there are only two parties.
And nobody
that
runs
control
against
this
them.
state.
Right.
And they have ballot access laws that prevent any real competition. They also have a government school system, which makes you think that there are only two parties. And so every time you're given a choice between just terrible and
horrible.
even worse. And when you have that choice, unfortunately, usually you're going to take even terrible. Now, I'm sorry, but that just seems to be a brutal fact. And it seems that way nationally, and it seems that way in these state elections. I'm sorry if some of you think that some of our current...
We can't hear you back here.
Great.
Use the mic.
You can't hear me? I'm trying to make it so loud everybody can hear. How about that? How about that, mother? Okay.
There you go.
There. How's that? Anyway, she said, why can't we do anything? And in a sense, let's face it, pot's gotten to just about be legal in this state now. That is to say that except in certain places, people can kind of do what they want. I mean, we're a lot more free now than we were even 10 years ago. I'm a lawyer. I go to court with cases. I wish more people felt comfortable taking their cases to trial. Because obviously, the prosecutors and judges and all really kind of don't want pot cases to go to trial because juries may acquit those people just because. There was a famous case down in Dublin about 2 years ago where the man got up on the stand and said, yeah, I was growing pot and I was doing it for my own personal use and I've got some medical issues, and the jury acquitted him. Well, you know, that if juries would just acquit people, then basically things would go a lot smoother. But as far as what we're going to do in the General Assembly, I don't know. But I would like for you to all get this declaration and make sure your state senator and your state representative and anybody else has read it And I think that you should go to, whenever there's some kind of a meeting where some candidate's talking, you should bitch. Bitterly bitch. We did that to my Kiwanis Club, for goodness sake, down in Pike County, told our representative, practically everybody in there said they wanted legalization. And because you have two parties that are just basically like the same party. You know, many years ago, I'm going to try not to talk too long, but many years ago, there was a guy in the Libertarian fellow talked to me. I think it's the guy that's going to run from Clayton County. The Democrat does not much believe in economic freedom, but they aren't. And Democrats say they love the poor,
But they don't.
but they don't. So all you can do is call bullshit on them, as I see it. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with the upcoming governor's race. It's hard to tell. All I can say is I'm certain that Purdue would be terrible.
Ooh, most definitely.
If he's ever done anything for Georgia, I'm not aware of it. Okay, and then the other two, you know, one's kind of just chicken shit, and he knows he probably shouldn't be, but they don't care about cannabis. All they care about is one thing, and that's called incumbency.
And Chamber of Commerce.
Well, they want incumbency, and so that's where the declaration comes in, is to say to anybody you go to, say, I cannot support you unless you are totally in favor of at least putting it up to a vote. But if they put it up to a vote, that's what really gets me, is they could have covered their asses in their own cowardice. Should be allowed to vote. But as any of you have,
Can't we in Georgia vote as the population for we want it or we don't?
because they don't put it up to a vote.
So what can we tell them to say, we want to vote on this?
Well,
Let the people decide.
first you'd even have to have a bill in the General Assembly that would put it as to a constitutional amendment or something of that nature, to have it be a binding vote. But none of those damn people will even do that. They could have a non-binding referendum or something, but nobody will even just be bitter. Bitch. Tell them, say, look, I'm tired of goddamn cowardice. And I'm sorry, but if that's what you are, don't ask me to support you with money, time, votes, or anything else. If all you think about is getting reelected and you don't care which poor people, or even middle-class people, are just getting robbed. That's all it is. I go in court these days, and I talk to the judge, I talk to the prosecutor, I talk to the cops, and I say, listen, you all know it's going to be legal fairly soon in Georgia. Now, fairly soon, as I'm afraid, it's got to be 2 or 3 more years out. But nevertheless, since they know it's going to be legal, all they're doing is stealing money from people. And there's no morality behind that, is there? And so I try to, and I think every lawyer should do this, that's defending these cases, should say, you people should be ashamed of what you're doing. And since it's just about stealing money, just tell us how much money you want, we'll give you the money, and then you dismiss the charges. Right. Doesn't that make sense? And if you won't do that, we'll go to jury trial. But see, it's easy for me to say go to jury trial, because it's not my liberty that's at stake. And they're saying, oh, you go to trial and you get convicted, buddy, and you'll get 10 years. You know, if it's a felony or whatever. And so that's a real problem, because I can't, you know, it's y'all's liberty, not mine, when it's that situation. But anyway, I think I've about spoken enough, unless there's some kind of a question and answer. But that, you know, years ago they had this thing called the Fully Informed Jury Association, and FIFA still exists. I used to be a member and all that. And people on juries understand that they have a right, and in Georgia it says very clearly in the Constitution that the jury has the right to find the facts and the law. And that and the law part, the Supreme Court of Georgia is kind of, well, that doesn't really mean that. The courts are full of this kind of class cowardly people that rise up through the legal profession and who've always kind of kept their noses clean, or at least wiped the coke off afterwards. And, seriously, and they get up in high office and they don't want to hear a case. They don't want to decide a case. What do they say? They say, you don't have standing.
Or latches.
Or latches. You've let it slide too long, something like that. But a jury, of course, can let you go no matter what the facts are. But you've got to have a good jury. You've got to have people out there that are willing to stand up to the other people in the jury that are just fools. And who think that somehow, well, it's the law. We got to do what the law says, and he was guilty. Yeah, but good gosh, lady, you smoked pot when you were in college. Well, that was back. I'm a Baptist. I don't admit it. I mean, that's a real problem. That's a very serious problem. It's called. I'm not trying to. Because I'm kind of semi-retired and I've got. But I do tell people when they call, like especially if they call and they've seen me on Normal or something, and they call and they're in South Dakota, I say, one is to get a lawyer who thinks cannabis should be illegal. Why give money to people like that? And then of course they should get a lawyer who you're not just a paycheck coming in the door. And they should get a lawyer who is a member of the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, not just some guy that's out there just saying you're a paycheck, you know. And it's really sad how much money the typical lawyer has to charge these days for even a misdemeanor case. The fine's only $1,000 or maybe $1,500, but then there's all that probation and all that bullshit. But the lawyer kind of has to charge about $4,000 to $5,000 minimum, because the courts get him in there and keep him and draw him and jerk him back and forth, and it uses up a shitload of his time. Sorry for cussing. I'm trying to get over that, but at any rate, it's really a shame, and I hate to kind of bring a negative message, but the positive message is that we're going to. Okay, and so we have to. We all to be pushing in a way that we kind of win even before we've legally won. And one of those ways is the jury, and the other one is to just jerk on you and pull and, oh, we love you, and all that stuff. If they believe in limited government, then you tell them, then I guess then you're all in favor of legalizing marijuana, or at least putting it on the ballot.
Decriminalizing, yeah.
Well,
Deschedule.
what can you say?
Deschedule is the best.
Well, what I would do if I was dictator, if y'all want to make me dictator, I'll take it.
I'll do it for you.
What I would do is just, I would just eliminate the word marijuana, cannabis, and similar words from the whole, and then it would be treated like tomatoes. Right?
Thank you, Walker. We go way back, like 4 or 5 decades ago, stomping for legalization. And Walker and I both ran for office on a legalization platform, and I was 92. What year were you?
90 and 94.
Okay, so
And 98.
when they started getting pot candidates up there wanting to be politicians, they decided that they were going to make us take a drug test. Oh, got to give up the bodily fluids to see if we're worthy to serve Georgia. So Walker challenged that Supreme Court, represented himself, and won. No more drug tests for candidates in Georgia.
No intelligence test either.
Yeah, no intelligence test either. So anyway, our next speaker is Ed Muldrow. Ed is the former GOP chairman for Gwinnett County. He is our legislative liaison, has been for the last year. He did get a bill on the table last year, but it didn't make it. The advocates wouldn't fight for it. The politicians wouldn't support it. So there you go. But anyway, Ed Muldrow.
All right, so I'm gonna take a little different approach to this conversation than we've heard so far. So as Teresa stated, I am the immediate past chair for the Gwinnett County Republican Party. And so what does that look like? Yes, there are, for the second largest county in the state of Georgia, yes, the black man was running the Republican Party. And so that's not something that normally happens. And so when we talk about cannabis legalization, yes, last year I was instrumental in helping to get that bill put forward. And no, it didn't go anywhere. It failed. Just like, what is it, SR, 165? It went to committee last year, and it was read, and that was it. It didn't go any further. So then the question becomes, well, why is that? So obviously we had politicians that were willing to put that legislation forward. And so why did it not go anywhere? So I'm going to say to that, bitching and complaining is not going to get us there. It's just not. What it's going to take is an organization like this, Georgia CIA, having money behind it from people like you, backing the issues and the challenges, and then having advocates to make sure that those bills get pushed. Now, I'm going to say this. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. And this is what I heard last year. So it's not something that I heard about. This is what people told me from their mouths to my ears. I got a call after the bill was put forth. We had that meeting, at Nuts and Dairies. We had the meeting after the bill got put forward. What ended up happening is I got several phone calls. And people who pushed the issue on the medical side called me up and said, I'm not supporting this. And I said, okay, well, what's the reason for not supporting it? And they said to me, well, one, because a white Republican put it up, we're not going to support it. And so they made sure that they didn't get behind it. And then also they said, well, we want to know where the money's going. And so we want to know how to make money off of this. How do I get a piece of this? And if I can't get a piece of the money, then I'm not supporting. And these were people on the Democrat side who called me up and gave me this information.
What do they want, the tax revenue? Or they want their relatives?
A whole lot of stuff. Licenses, money cut in on lobbying, all of that. And so what I'm saying to you tonight is this. What I'm saying to you tonight is this. The way to move the legislation forward is organizations like this. Join the organization, get involved, and then push the agenda. Find vet candidates who are going to stand by doing the things you want them to do. Again, we had the legislators that put the bill forward. It just didn't go anywhere. And so there are some who are willing to do that. Now, also, once you go beyond the legislators, you got to talk to the governor and all of this other stuff. Okay, yeah, got it. But you got to do the first steps first. First steps is right here. And so Teresa may or may not ask you to become members and make some donations and stuff, but that money will go towards making sure we got the right people in place to be advocates, to be lobbyists, and all of that other stuff, things that needs to get done. Education, have to do an entire campaign. One of the things I was asked from the governor's office last year, once we got this, the question was, when are you guys going to start your campaign for education around the state to move this thing forward? because they can get behind it as long as they understand that it makes sense. And it's not just a bunch of crazies out there who just want to be high and just smoke all day and not have any accountability and all that. That's not what they want. So, yes, if you can do two things at once, they want to make sure that you can prove that you can do two things at once. And so, again, my approach is a little bit different. My approach is, just the old saying, you can catch more bees with honey than vinegar. You know what, or more flies with honey, whatever it is.
Whatever
You
you
guys
want.
understand that we have to do it smart, because no matter what, no matter how much conversation and how pissed off we are, if the bill is not on the floor in order to process it and get it passed, all we're gonna do is continue to bitch and complain. Because it's not gonna go anywhere and legalization will not happen. So we have to work inside the process. What was your question?
Do the legislatures know how much money they can make on this in
Of course they
taxes?
do. The studies are out there. I mean, nobody, it's not law. Here's the
Someone
thing.
says Washington
Here's the
State.
thing. Listen, for a second, listen.
So the tax revenue is there, the science is there, are they setting up who's gonna be the gatekeepers?
Again, here's what you guys are missing. Here's the piece that everybody's missing. So you say the studies are there, the ideas that a whole lot of money is going to be made is there. All of that is in place. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
But then the question is, again, just like I was asked, did we get the right situation in place to push this the entire state? So people in here and legislate just like campaign or just like people do for their campaign. Office, you ran for office, a few people in here. You have to do the work. You have to go through the process. And so the process, part of the process is the education piece, along with the legislation piece, all of that.
And I appreciate your wanting to follow the process. To expanding the medical, I mean, you have to be in state in Georgia
No.
to qualify for a car. Or legalization versus expanding medical.
Expanding the medical piece will not get you there at all. It
All right.
won't get you where you're trying to get to.
That's what a lot of people think.
No, well, that's the lie we have to tell, right, in order to, it's coming,
Yeah,
just,
it's a cover.
steps by step. No, that's not gonna happen, that's not gonna get you there.
Okay.
What you have to do is to make sure in the long situation, you can't tie the medical thing, because what's gonna happen is, you're gonna always have, whether it be the corporations or whoever that wants to control their piece of it.
Got it.
And wants to, and here's another thing that we have to be concerned about. If we do the standalone situation for adult use, we have to make sure that it's not tied in any way, shape, or form to the medical.
So what's the compelling argument or case or situation to bring it all to a forefront? What would you get? What are your thoughts on that?
So for that piece, it's a combination of things. So the argument has to be, one, we understand that the people want it. Because that resolution last year was one to get it on the ballot.
It's a personal freedom that the people want.
In order for people to vote to say yes. There by saying, well, we do know that we've done the studies, we've done all of the polling and all of that, which money place for organizations like this to get the polling done. To get a piece of that is, look at where we are right now in the state of Georgia. It's always been said that, prohibition isn't stopping anyone from getting weed, right? And so if it's not stopping anybody, what's the purpose of it? And so the other revenue is the driving force behind all of that. And so we can set up a situation that it's not about licensing, so only certain groups or certain people can get the licensing.
Right.
It's about what the people say they want. And so again, I keep harping back to this, is that we need to make sure that we have good foundations and good organizations set up that can advocate on our behalf for this issue. If we don't do that, each individual in here can and talking and some of the governors, people, and all of that, some of the first questions they ask is, okay, with your organization, how many people do they have? How much money because they need to know that if you say, hey, our organization.
You a lightweight or heavyweight?
Exactly. And that's what moves the needle.
Exactly.
Nothing else will do that for you. And so if we cannot come together in this organization and make sure that Teresa and her board gets everything that they need for support, this is going to become an annual conversation that goes nowhere. So tonight, you guys need to take a look at how committed you are to this situation, what you want to do, how you want to be a part of it, and seriously consider, making a donation and becoming a member and helping us move this forward. Any other questions? Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much. Ed is one of those people, and of course, as we announced earlier, we've opened the organization up to grassroots. And we've got a lot of community, we can put you guys working. But the biggest thing people ask me, what can I do? If you don't do anything but leave here tonight and tell people what you learned, and let people know that there's a strong organization and we're going to act, just keep the conversation going. Okay. Click. But anyway, Ted's a strong advocate in the legalization movement, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him. And if he starts talking about masturbation, bear with him, he's going to make a point.
Unfortunately, I got distracted just as she was saying whatever derogatory statement she was making, impugning my character, which is probably true and accurate. Okay. Yes, my name is Ted Metz. I am a marijuana advocate. I'm a marijuana proponent. I am a cannabis consumer. I don't mind saying that out loud in public because cannabis is the plant that God gave us to fix all of the human problems. From soil mitigation to pull toxins from the soil, to pulling bad and evil spirits out of your soul. I mean, it is the total medicine. Our body is equipped with an endocannabinoid system that Dr. Uma is going to talk about after she gets back. And the thing about it is because I thought it was fascinating, because I realized that our founding father had actually just come through an enormous transition from the burning of the Library of Alexandria, through the Dark Ages, through the reformation of knowledge, to the printing press, to a point that we had the Great Awakening. Suddenly everybody knew a lot of cultures, philosophy, morality, you name it. You know, I would have to say that our pinnacle of American existence was when everyone was smart enough. All of our farmers were able to read. They could have creative debates. They could actually debate on the subject. They actually had a common library from which they read, which included science, math, philosophy, comparative religion, and all these things that our kids never even have a clue that this is a subject that they can learn. Our educational system is so bad now that you can't have an intelligent argument with anyone. Kruger effect. And a lot of people suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect. And essentially that's a chart that goes like this. There's a huge spike, and then it goes way down, and then goes out like this. This huge spike right here represents, on this axis, is the availability of knowledge and how much you know. Essentially at this end, the more you know, the less you think you know. But over here where you only know a little bit about stuff, your confidence in knowing that stuff as being the absolute truth is enough to make you want to fight for it, even though it's wrong. And the thing is, our government and our media, they all know this. They put the same 4 or 5 words over and over and over again till you are brainwashed into having a belief, even though it's not true. And this is something that if we had critical thinking skills and a trait known as discernment, we would be able to look at all this, get a global 30,000-foot view, and realize that most of everything that's on TV and print media and political speech is 100%, if not 98.5% bullshit. I will say that out loud. Can I get an amen on that?
Amen.
All right, now, getting back to the whole thing about my point of studying the American colonial history is that our system of law is based on English common law that started with the Magna Carta. Everyone remember the Magna Carta? That's what kicked this whole thing off. It was freedom from government. And our foundational law is based on a limited, defined government with enumerated powers. One of the things that a lot of people never even heard of is the Bill of Rights, which basically says the first 10 amendments to remind government that they have absolute authority to touch. And the thing is, government doesn't have authority to do much of anything else except what's in Article 1, Section 8. And the thing is, one of the things about Article that makes up the District of Columbia. So in essence, every law that comes out of the federal government is only applied to DC, but we voluntarily give our rights away. We bow down and we let them go. Is that right, Walker? Yeah. So, if we want to end this marijuana stuff, this prohibition and a lot of things, our argument really has to be going to our legislatures and saying, can you please point out in the U.S. Constitution and in the Georgia Constitution the verse, clause, section, and subsection, paragraph, and sentence that gives you the authority to rule over this? They don't have it. We need to take it back. We can put them back inside their constitutional constraints by standing up and saying, this is horseshit, you don't have the authority to do this. To give you an example, I ran for governor in 2018. One of my campaign planks was to end sovereign and qualified immunity, because that's outside the 14th Amendment, granting special right track. If we start fighting them on their enumerated powers and specific authorities, we can end the drug war because they don't have the authority over it in the first place. There's nowhere in the Constitution that allows the DEA to exist. There's no authority for them to schedule drugs, saying, oh, this one's more dangerous, even though marijuana having therapeutic benefits, not being addictive, and not being prone to harm, takes it out of the schedule automatically, because it has to have a high propensity for abuse and medical benefits, which is all bullshit. So my hierarchy of law basically says if the Constitution doesn't give them authority to do it in the first place, then they can't pass any law under that. It's fruit of the poisonous trees in reverse, even though they have guns and they can enforce it anyway. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But the two-party system that Ed was talking about earlier is broken. Stop voting for the party. Start voting for people who have ideas with the guts, the backbone, the gonads to actually follow through on. And with that, I will yield the floor.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you very much. What do you guys think about all these politicians in the house? How about that? We need more. Some of you guys ought to consider running. Ever thought about that?
Too many skeletons in my closet.
Look, our next guest, we were so honored to have her. She just got back into Georgia yesterday. I received an email from her this morning saying, I'm in town, how can I
Y'all
help
don't
you?
want that hoe at all.
And so here she is,
Y'all don't want that hoe
Dr.
running nothing.
Donna Ballin, a true rock star, guys. Welcome, Dr. Donna Ballin.
That's the campaign. Georgia.
Hi, everybody.
Just saying.
Good evening, Georgia. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Amen.
I am back home. I've been on the road. I had the opportunity to speak at the first Cannabis Science and Industry Congress in Costa Rica. And we were very honored because the people are listening, folks. My message is being heard not just here, but throughout the world. I got involved in this as idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. It's a fancy term for we don't know what caused your lung disease. Meanwhile, I too understand the value of money. I was working at the world's largest cleanup site for plutonium. I'm a family doctor. I'm an occupation and environmental medicine physician. I'm specialized in heavy metals. And at that time, I was working as a medical review officer, which included drug testing, because I was on a federal site. And if you tested positive for this chemical known as THC, you had the potential of losing your job. And I was involved in that. We had no choices back then, and I kept my mouth shut. I did not speak about this. I did not discuss this. And I did not share the knowledge that I was learning. In 2012, January, my mother died of the illness, and I understand. I feel that we need to drop the D in it, not a disorder or a disease. And today, with advent of COVID, the world is suffering from post-traumatic stress.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
And we call this, it's legally available, which is alcohol. And I feel what we need is conscious use. And that's the message that I want people to understand. Whatever we do, we must have a conscious use of it. And what I realize is that this plant kills nobody, and nobody in the whole world has died from an overdose if you keep this plant safe. And the reason is because we have an endocannabinoid system. With all of my years of education, I had never, ever, ever heard about this system that's 600 million years old. And doctors still don't know about this system. And that's why system, and I have a message to change the stigma as well, and I do it through education. That's my message and my mission. And I thank all of you for being here tonight, because you're learning that there's three facts that I want every one of you to know. Number one, nobody has died. Number two, the United States of America has a patent that was issued on October 7th, 2003. And this patent states cannabinoids, that's in this plant, as an antioxidant and neuroprotectant. Nothing about neurotoxic or addictive. And they've known about it for prevention and Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, stroke, and cardiac. The third fact I want everybody to know is that doctors had the liberty to write a prescription for this medicine. They started to write recommendations in the state of Washington. And I'm proud of what I do today. And I'm proud because I have also not written an opioid prescription for over 15 years. And I'm proud that cultivation must be allowed. Number three, we need products of all kinds to be developed. If it can be the topical food, a product that can be used by everybody. we need to see laboratory standards. If we mess up this plant, and you take my plant, and you create a poison of it, you're gonna have to answer to me. We need to have laboratory standards to make sure that the soil, the air, and the water we breathe to this plant is checked, and that the end product, so we need laboratory standards. And most important, education. Education about the endocannabinoid system and the facts that stigma exists. And this plant can impact everybody in the world. And it's about people, pets, and not just the ones that are in our home, but the produce, our chickens, our pigs, the beef, everything was fed hemp. It's for the planet. We're facing a climate change. We're gonna have older people, and the soil is being damaged. Peace for the whole world, and profit. Profit is not just money and the jobs, but your health and wellness, and no amount of money can replace that. So these are the 5 P's I want you guys to take away today. Dr. Uma's 5 P's for the plant are people, pets, the planet, peace, and profit. I thank you all, and the 3 words are educate, embrace, empower, is what I say. Hashtag that if you want. And I am Dr. Uma Dhanabalan. My clinic is called Uplifting Health and Wellness, and that's our email to upliftinghealthandwellness@gmail.com. I'm here to reach 1, teach 10, teach 1, reach 10. God bless everybody, and thank you very much.
Was I right? Is that rock star? Let's give her a hand. She goes all over the world spreading that message. How about that? We're going to give away a raffle before we bring our next guest up. So are you guys ready, or do you want to go after the next guest? Oh, sorry. After our next guest. Blair Curlis. Blair Curlis. Where's our mad scientist? There he is. Our next guest is okay, Blair Curtis. He's on the advisory board for the Georgia CIA. He is always in the lab, working with grades and compounds, and Delta 8 with watermelon flavors. Very good stuff. So anyway, we're going to let Blair say a few words to you guys. Blair Curtis.
There we go. So I believe Teresa wanted me to talk about legalization with hemp in Delta 9. So the way the laws are written right now, in 2018, anything above 0.3% is considered marijuana. So if you have, a gummy or so, and you stick in hemp-derived Delta 9, which naturally occurs in the hemp plant, and if you make that Delta 9 THC 0.3% or less, it is perfectly legal. You want me to speak up a little bit more? Okay, sorry about that. It does sound loud up here. So 0.3% is the goal that you're looking for. So even the DEA has already specified that it doesn't matter where the THC comes from, as long as it is hemp-derived, it will be perfectly legal. As long as you keep that percentage less than 0.3%. So that's why you can have all those gummies that are coming out, hemp-derived with Delta 9, 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams. Yeah. Go for it. Eat it up. It's a lot better than opioids. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I don't want to keep us, in front of here. I smell there's good food. Go enjoy it.
Thank you, Blair. Thank you so much. Yeah, we got all kind of people on board with us. We've got investors, so if any of you guys want to put a pitch together, get your numbers right, present it to some of our investors and get into the cannabis business, let us know. We got these people on board. So if you're interested in consultation, we got these people on board. If you're interested in real estate, Mr. Christopher, come up here and say something right quick. And then we're going to go eat. How about that? And then we'll pick up with our final speakers after we eat.
Guys, there is nothing but opportunity in this room. Look around you. Everybody that's beside you is influential in their own ways. They all bring something to the table. Look beside you. What do you need? Open your minds. Speak it to the world. Put together a letter of intent. Bring it to Teresa or I. Let us know what you can bring to the table. If you're an investor, if you're a banker, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, whatever you can do to provide product, anything that you can do to provide information, anything that we can do to unite this community to bring us together is going to make us stronger as a whole. So everybody reach deep into your pockets today, grab out all your business cards, share your contacts, let everybody know who you are, what you do, and let's make this group that is a dynamic force that can't be ignored anymore.
Thank you, Christopher. That's our madman. But our next guest, and we're going to go ahead and bring him on before we eat, because we just are. Paul Cornwell, first Georgia legalization advocate. First businessman in cannabis. He established a legal cannabis business by, I'll let him tell you. Paul Cornwell. He owns the pot shop, guys.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank Walker and Ed. And Walker, you're right. Justice for all of us resides in the power of the jury. You convince the jury that they are there to dictate justice, and we have the day one. Okay, so I'm Paul Cornwell at the pot shop, and I started back in doing the first smoking in Georgia in 1970 after a referendum at Georgia, University of Georgia, siding with decrim marijuana in a positive way. And we had the student senate there try to verify and vote that referendum legitimate, and we had a smoke-in right there in the law auditorium at the University of Georgia. Although at that time I didn't really know what the hell we were doing. We just had a lot of joints and smoking. So then, proceed a few years later, I'm doing rock and roll with the University of Georgia. So I learned a lot of production skills, etc. But come along, I met the Yippies in '75 at the July 4th White House smoke-in, and started working with the Fifth Avenue Pot Parade out in New York. And then I'd already known Dennis Perone since 1972, that Proposition 15 in California. So I had a background, and so I joined the Yippies, '75, the only Southern conservative contingent of the Yippies. But I'm one of the survivor of the Yippies. So anyway, we decided to do some Southern smoke-ins, and we did the first Atlanta smoke-in on April 7th, 1978. 1,000 brave souls. And I want to shout out to all you warriors, because if it goes from here, it's got to go where the warriors were before. The 1,000 souls that showed up at Herd Park that day were met with 300 cops. And so we went by plan. Charismatic was playing, who, by the way, opened up for the Sex Pistols at the Southeast Music. So we threw out the 300 joints we had from the stage as Charismatic was beating up Secret Agent Men, and 28 people were arrested in 45 minutes. So those are warriors. Those are the people that are willing to risk their freedom and their fortunes to have change. Just like the early civil rights activists. This is a civil right. You don't have a right for the government to come tell you what the hell you want to smoke or not smoke. So anyway, 78, then we went to the courts, and I kept working for the yippies, etc. We did the Democratic National Convention in 88, Alternative 88, with Abby Hoffman, yippie, and Russell Means, American Indian Movement, and Ron Paul, Libertarian, and a ton of people. Tim Leary, he doesn't need introduction. So, we formed the 1978 CAMP, Coalition Abolition Marijuana Prohibition, that in Georgia had a lot of young people working back then. And all these folks here were over 30. So, I'm wondering where all the young folks are. We need them. Then we had a big reservoir of young people ready to fight. I don't know whether it was the age of the early 70s moving through or not, but the excitement was to have it at the highest cost at that time was your freedom. And I know that well because I did a 2-year sentence in the Fed and a 1-year sentence in Georgia, which wasn't that much time, for pot. So it became political. In 78, we formed CAMP, Coalition, and we did later by 1990s, 89, we were doing the smoke-ins on a regular basis in Piedmont Park. And then we moved to, after the Democratic National Convention in 1988, which is when we had the Alternative Convention. The cops came down on us pretty hard, basically closed the Metro Parks. And so what we decided from that move, we would take it to the parks and do the Great Atlanta Pop Festival. And so for the last 25, 30 years, I guess, we've done 25 years of the Pop Festival. It's a major national artists and crowds of 60,000, 30,000, many times. So if you want to talk about power, it's not about going to the state legislature. The power is in each one of you individuals, in the power you manifest inside your own motion and movement to get legalization or decriminalization or however you want to do it. Let me point out one other thing. There's no difference between medical and recreational marijuana. So anybody tells you that, they're full of it. Medical marijuana is for use to humans, and whatever you want to use it for, it has no distinctive lines between, oh, this is medical, oh, this is recreational. Okay, look at your farm meds. Did they get you high? Did they get you happy? What? So what I'm saying is you as an individual have the right to tell the government to go fuck themselves. Okay? And then what I see here is, and all these politicians and pot politicians and everybody talking the way, is the creation of the pot party of Georgia. I mean, let's tell them we want pot. You want some of, you want our voters, you want our people, you want our support, then you need to come swaying your fat asses in here and talk to the pot party of Georgia. You know what I mean? Don't have them, we go in there begging them, fuck this, fuck that. No! You come beg to us, bro, because we're the majority now, okay? Suck it! So, I just wanted to give you a little insight from where I'm sitting doing the pot shop and stuff. We were the first to sell CBDs in Georgia. That was when you could only get it as a black oil called RSHO. Before all these entrepreneurs and cash grummers and the carpetbaggers come in to get rich on tinctures and oils to smoke and candies and the little sweeties and stuff. When have they put up any of their money for legalization moves in a big way? No, there's some millionaires that gave up some money in California and Oregon. And as I say, I knew Dennis Peron back in '72. God knows he gave his life for cannabis. He once told me, of course, and he's told a lot of people this, all cannabis use is medical. All of it. So, if you want the insights, I can't go on forever. But if you, because I know you're hungry, right? Smoking that ganja and shit. Rastafari. So if you want to get busy, spend your soul figuring out your plan, how you put your little cog in the wheel, and get busy. Come by the pot shop. We're going to do another pot festival. Nowadays, with the pandemic, we have to insurance, security, da-da-da. It's not like the old days, take a stage in front of the White House and have New Riders and Purple Saints. No, it's not like that. So, one love to all you warriors and keep busy.
Excuse me, it's not, COVID, it's not. So, we're gonna take a break, and y'all go grab you some hibachi food and bring it back in here, and we'll bend your ears some more. How about that?
Looks good though. I'm gonna get me a plate.
So how have you been doing, lady? Good. You been doing? I'm a little high and drunk. I can solve my but I'm good. Okay. Well, let's sit your drink right here, Lo. What you doing? You been doing good? Yep. You gotta get in that line.
Bring you the same thing.
Yeah.